to Life Transitions Radio Talk Show with yours truly, Coach Latoya, here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. Happy Saturday. Happy September. We made it. We made it to the fall. Hope y'all had a fabulous summer, and it is football season, one of my favorites for sure. Thank you to all my listeners. Thank you for those that have been tuning in the last few weeks. And listening in on those dynamic shows we had. Charles Johnson on from For Cura for Moms did a phenomenal job sharing the work that he's been doing, and just excited. So don't forget to follow them at For Cura for Moms. But I'm gonna hop into this show today, y'all. I am extremely excited, bringing you some world famous folks. I promise you, these names are gonna be all over the place. You can Google them, okay, and figure out why I'm saying this, but definitely special to me, and plays a vital role in my life. At least one of them do and has. So before I get into them and let them start talking, because I know they have a lot to say, I want to introduce you first to Naru Witherspoon. And Naru is, the man behind the firm. Okay. So I was looking up Naru and I realized Naru from East St. Louis, y'all. East St. Louis representing. So have some love there. And then Naru, was born, my family is from Mississippi. So I saw you spent some time at the University of Mississippi Law School as well. So haven't met you in person, but did a little research and found out we might have a little bit of stuff in common. I mentioned East St. Louis because I worked for Purina for many years. So I spent a lot of time in St. Louis. I don't know if I've made it to East St. Louis, but I spent a lot of time in St. Louis. So welcome to the show, Naru. Thank you for giving me some time. And we definitely look forward to talking to you today. And then my childhood friend, probably one of the longest friends I've had, that I've watched really blossom into this career. There's lots of things we could share about before she was into this awesome career, but someone that I'm extremely proud of, someone that inspires me every single day. But hailing from Gainesville, Florida, but currently representing Jacksonville. Please welcome to the show, Kay Harper Williams.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey. So you both have some dynamic backgrounds, and I want to, before we jump into how you came together and created this, before law school and all of that, how did you know law was your thing? When did you know law was your thing? And Naru, I'll start with you.
Okay, so that's a great question. I knew that law was my thing back in high school.
Okay.
At least I thought I wanted to be a governor, at the time. I thought I wanted to be the governor of a state. But once I learned how, politics are, and, I just realized about me personally, I don't have the diplomacy that it takes to sit back and let people run my name in the mud.
Yeah.
So politics wasn't for me, but I did learn in that most politicians were lawyers. To be a governor, most of them go to law school. So I started the idea there, and then just kind of took a different path once I got to law school.
Okay. I can see you as Governor Witherspoon. I can see that. All right. Attorney Kay, what about you? When did you know law was it for you?
Well, I knew that law was it for me as soon as I figured out that I didn't like science as much as I thought I did, because I always thought I was going to be a doctor growing up. So I knew, or I thought, that I wanted to be a cardiologist. My whole life as a kid, I would tell people I'm going to be a heart surgeon. And then I found out how many science courses and advanced, very bizarre math courses were involved in that.
Okay.
Let me see how I can somehow make this math in a different way. So I ended up switching gears, and we had lawyers in our family, and I grew up watching them and had always admired them, but I did want to sort of blaze a different trail in the family because we didn't have a cardiologist, and I wanted to be that person. But This works.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I'm happy with the choice that I made. It definitely was meant for me.
Absolutely. So my next question is, how did you choose personal injury law? Because there's lots of different ways to go in the law world, right? There's lots of different avenues that you could have taken. How about, why did you choose personal injury? We'll start with you, Kay.
Okay, so, well, I always tell people I'm a helper at heart. You've known me most of my life. You know that I am willing to help any and everybody, stranger, family member, friend, you name it. That is just who I am at my core. And to just put it plainly, I mean, personal injury lawyers and tax lawyers are the richest lawyers in the country.
Okay.
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 So, I did not know, at least when I was in law school trying to figure this out, because I went to Tulane University for law school in New Orleans, and managed to have an okay time, in New Orleans, and it was all right,
I'm sure.
No, New Orleans is a great city, so we had a lot of fun, and it balanced the stress of law school. But I went to FAMU with you for undergrad,
Yes.
and for sure, and I needed to figure out, unlike undergrad, you don't have a major in law school, so you have to sort of just figure out in your mind what you want to do in practice,
Okay.
and just tailor your classes, toward that end.
Okay.
So, once I originally went to Tulane for sports law because we had a lot of friends going pro, knew at the time a lot of pro athletes or guys who were becoming pro athletes in short order, and felt like I could do this. These guys trust me, so not only would I be an agent, but I would also be a lawyer. So this works, right? Never shied away from the male dominated industry, as you can tell. So, but I changed my mind about sports law once I had an internship in that arena. Ooh. And decided that I did not want to become the person that I would have to become in order to be successful in my mind.
Okay.
It is not in my nature to cut somebody else off at the knees.
Yeah.
So, and no shade to any agents or sports attorneys, right? But it's very dog.
Yeah.
And that's just not who I wanted to be. It's not how I wanted to live my life. So switch gears, and the richest lawyers in the country are tax lawyers and personal injury lawyers. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know enough people that needed a tax attorney at the time. I mean, in those circles back then. But so personal injury was a natural fit for me, and it checked the box with me being able to help people. So it was a no-brainer.
Awesome. Naru, was it a money grab as well? Was it that enticing for you?
Well, I can appreciate how unapologetic, Kay was when she talked about the money.
Come
And
on.
and listen, to be frank, I mean, we are civil attorneys, right? And so as a civil attorney, you can't be shy about asking for the money. And so I can definitely echo some of Kay's thoughts. I mean, I looked at the industry, and I think at the time when I was finishing up at Ole Miss, most Black attorneys became family law lawyers, or they were criminal defense lawyers. I think that's probably because those were the things that was, affecting us personally, our communities. But, for me, I was looking at this industry where we're not really represented. And yeah, it was the money.
Come on. Come on. I mean, I always tell people, when you're selecting a career and you're trying to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life, if it's not something that's going to be sure that you're, making ends meet, right? It's not those types of things, then you have to have a backup plan.
Right.
Because last time I checked, rent still due. So, you're gonna have to come up with something, right? So both of you talked about, your track, how you got to law, how you actually, arrived at, okay, this is personal injury. You're graduating law school, you're kind of moving towards this career that you want to create, that sort of thing. Tell me about that transition, because you're in law school, right? And you're around all these people that are trying to become attorneys. Everybody's trying to get there. How do you set yourself apart, like to make sure you get the ball rolling and start from there? And I know, Kay, you started talking about, you know, some experience you had on the sports side, but once you actually got into personal injury, right, that sort of thing, what did that transition look like for you?
The transition for me started in law school because after the sports experience, then I transitioned to personal injury experience, wrongful death experience. I interned with Willie Gary, a renowned Black attorney. I was there both summers of law school. So after my first year and my second year, I spent the entire summer with his firm, in trial, in mediation, in depositions. I mean, they do not shy away from real practical experience. My first week at that firm, I landed at the airport, somebody picked me up. They took us, at the time he had a private jet, the 747 Boeing jet, the 737 Boeing jet, and they picked me up at the regular airport and
the one we fly in, the one out, the one I'm at,
the one,
yeah,
the one we still fly into,
yeah.
Picked me up from there and took me to the private airport where his plane was waiting on, not me, but on the group of people going to trial from the firm, and it included 3 interns. I was one of them. So I was in St. Louis, right, for a couple of weeks in trial related to a wrongful death case. And this is my first week with the firm, you know, so they put you right into the fire, and it's not pushing paper or building charts or, you know, filing documents or anything like that. I mean, they want you to get the real life experience. And so that baptized me immediately into personal injury and opened my eyes to the possibilities in this particular practice area, because they were highly successful.
Yeah, I love that. Naru, what about you? Did you have any experiences like that while you were in law school?
Yeah, you know, I think mentorship, experiences that I had played a big role. I had an opportunity to work for a lawyer in Mississippi at that time, and this was, you know, a couple decades ago. This attorney was doing hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, that's a lot of money today, but he was doing that back then, similar to the numbers that Willie Gary was doing. So, you know, we had those mentors, and you know, I've had those experiences with attorneys like that, and you know, for me, it was kind of a no brainer.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about this partnership. All right. Tell us how did this come about? I know, okay, you did your own thing, right? For 8-10 years or so. How did you find the route? How did this partnership come about?
So this is like one of the most organic things ever, because we met through a mutual friend, another FAMUan.
Okay, come on, Rattlers.
Naru's around all these FAMUans, you know, he went to Paul Quinn, but you know, he just gravitates toward the Rattlers. What can we do? You know?
No,
I'm honorary. Make me honorary.
come on, you get honorary. Just come to homecoming. Give me honorary.
So anyway, but another Rattler, Edric Callahan, introduced us. Edric was a very dear friend of mine, is a very dear friend of mine, but we became close at FAMU. He's like a brother to me. And I happen to be in Chicago, Naru happened to be in Chicago, and Edric's like, hey, I got to get you guys together. I had heard his name before, that kind of thing. But anyway, we meet. I actually hit it off with Naru's wife. Not that we didn't get along, you know, we met. Hey, how you doing? Okay, yeah. Edric told me a lot about you. Okay, cool, yeah. See you later. You know, I mean, it was a Frankie Beverly or somebody, something, OJ's concert, something, and Naru was hosting an event, like had a box and all that. So but anyway, I ended up chatting, spending time hanging around his wife that night, and we hung out some more during the weekend that we were there. ended up going on vacation with some other couples, you know, my husband, them. And anyway, it started purely as a friendship. And over the years, we worked on cases together and always talked about a partnership. And when somehow at the right time, right, the stars aligned and it finally made sense. And we were both in the right position. We had both had been on our own, had partners, you know, and sometimes you need that prior experience to know what works for you in business. And this is why it works.
Okay. So what is one of the most significant moments you've had together? Naru, I'll put that on you, that since you've partnered.
So, you know, we've had so many.
Okay.
If I'm being totally honest, I think that from a personal standpoint, you know, when you think about like a partnership, it's really like a marriage, right? And so in any relationship, the key is to be open to improving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes like, you know, in these personal relationships, business or otherwise, I am who I am. I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. And that's not the recipe for success. And so I've had moments where you know, Kay has, hey, let me talk to you about this or that. And it's helped me improve, you know, personally, professionally. And so those are the moments that you know, we probably don't talk about, but professionally, you know, one of our biggest moments was when we recorded a jury verdict for $158 million.
Woo! Say
Let
that
me say that
again.
again. Say it again.
One more time.
$158 million. Um,
Okay.
and you know, that was a an amazing experience. I mean, I wish we had a camera person there during the process, the decision to get on the flights at the hotel, because it was a trial outside of the trial. But we got it done, and the jury favored us and awarded us 158 million.
That's phenomenal. Congratulations. Congratulations to the both of you. So tell me about challenges as a partner. So let's say we've got some folks out there that are in your field. Maybe they're out on their own, maybe they partnered a little bit, that sort of thing. But what advice would you give those that are looking to either partner or start a new partnership? Any challenges with that? Oh, sorry. I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay, you didn't throw it either way.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. Okay, so I would say that the main challenge, which is why I believe that at least from my perspective, our first partnerships did not work long term, is it really takes more than just we have the same skill set, right? We both want to make money. There has to be a particular synergy, and that Naru referred to it as a marriage is a great way to think about it, right? Because if you don't have the chemistry with the person, then the partnership still won't work. Yeah. You guys could be the two best lawyers in the country. Mm-hmm. But if your vision does not align outside of just let's make money, right? But who are you as people, right? Who are we as a firm? What's our mission statement? What's our vision? What is it that we intend to do in the community? One person may be totally all about the community and want to do all this outreach, and the other person is like, we're not spending money on that, right? So there, even that, right? So how money is spent and on what it is spent is so important. Those conversations are so critical to have. What's the long-term vision? When do you guys want to retire? Some people want to die at their desk. Other people want to be retired at 55. Yeah. Right. So there can be so much conflict that people never consider in practices like this. And it doesn't have to be just the legal field, right? Certainly doctors become partners and dentists and all these other professionals partner, but have you really thought the whole thing out in the same way you think about, or you have conversations with your future spouse, like how many kids do you want? And oh, where do you want to live? And, retirement and what does that look like? So our vision aligns across the board. So we love practicing law, but it is not something that we intend to do for the rest of our days.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a very strict timeline, and we're working hard to meet the timeline for this, not for the partnership, but for our practice, and our involvement in the practice. So we hope that the firm can live on into perpetuity, but maybe we'll just be out here, shaking hands and kissing babies, right?
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because I think it's important for people to understand that, it always looks good on the outside, right? So someone can come in and look at your partnership together like, oh, this worked. So I like that you highlighted that this takes work, and it's like a marriage, right? There are going to be some challenges, but alignment is kind of what I heard you say there, just thinking it all the way through.
I think let me just say this. I think the other key thing is trust.
Mm.
Just like in a marriage, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be able to fully trust each other, knowing that regardless of what is going on, we have each other's back.
Yeah.
Right. So we have personal challenges, family challenges, all kinds of things come up. I know that I can call Naru and lean on him and say, hey, this is what I have going on. And he's like, okay, what do I need to do to help?
Yeah.
Right. Like, do you need to come out to some of your cases? Do I need to step in? Do we need to hire somebody else to pick up the slack for a moment? Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, there's always a conversation around what's in your best interest personally, right? Because whatever's in our personal best interest is also in the best interest of the firm. Yeah. So, but we 100% trust each other. It's all cards on the table. I mean, I hear stories about partners and the folk hide money and doing this, that, and that. I mean, so there has to be full transparency.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
Love that. So Naru, tell me, how do you continue to kind of stay on top of the trends? Like, how do you keep up with the innovation and adapting to things that's happening today? Because I'm sure, 10 years ago, you're not dealing with the same kind of things that's happening now. And then how do you attract new clients, right, in this new era?
Sure. I mean, I think staying ahead has a lot to do with staying in touch.
Okay.
When you're in touch with the culture and the community, you always are, in the same place. We see each other, we hear each other.
Okay.
So, we can speak to us because we are with the people we represent.
Okay.
We eat where they eat, we worship where they worship. So we can just speak to the people that we represent. And I think there's a certain genuineness with that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times with attorneys, once attorneys or anybody, achieves a certain level of success, comedians, entertainers, you name it, then they sort of become out of touch.
Yeah.
They kind of move way, way over here and don't interact anymore. And so it kind of comes across, I think, when people are calling on us to help them, and we, a family invites us to their home and we're sitting at their kitchen table. They like, oh, I feel like I'm here with my brother,
Mm-hmm.
or my cousin or my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
But if we didn't stay connected to the community and the culture like that, I don't think we would continue to thrive.
Yeah, I think that's also, I'm glad you pointed out, because it's so important, because you talked about trust, Kay, in the partnership, but your clients have to trust you first, right? And what better way to kind of start to gain that trust by building that connectivity right away, right? So sitting down with them, worshiping with them, being in the community. So, and being able to relate, I'm sure, is also, very, very helpful there. So
that's actually something that our competitors in this industry cannot compete with, right? And
tell me more.
Like, let me give you an example. So
Okay.
there are people in this industry that may say, "Oh, I made $1 billion."
Okay.
Okay. But you hit the nail on the head, because in our community, trust is everything. I don't care what you made and what you're talking about, but if I can't trust you, if I can't look at you in your eyes, and I'm not rolling with you. And
Right.
so in business, that is sort of an intangible that, competitors can't compete with.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because a lot of times when you're, if something happens to you, you have some type of injury personally, and you're like, okay, I need to call someone. You're hesitant, right? It's like, I don't know if this person will help me, and trying to decide, who should I call, or is it somebody on this billboard? Are you asking your mom or your cousins and that sort of thing? But how cool is it for someone to say, hey, I met with them, I trust them, right? They're going to come into the community. You're going to be able to relate with them, so I think that's huge. And I love that you say kind of set yourself apart from the competition. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit from this, but I want to know. I want to know. Give me something, a case or something that you're working on where it surprised you. Because I know you said you did a trial within a trial, right? It was a trial outside of the trial, and because I don't think people understand. They see you on TV, and they see all these things, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of moving pieces and that sort of thing. So tell me something. It doesn't have to be, a ton of details, but anything that has surprised you in this industry, just whether it's a trial or just dealing with other lawyers and that sort of thing, just anything that surprised you. Let me pass it to Kay. Sorry.
Okay. I think that we are. Okay, so I'll tell this story. Related to the $158 million verdict, right?
Okay. All
Okay,
right. We can go
so
there.
there's a lot going on, obviously, because there's the sort of outtakes, right? There's all the behind the scenes stuff. Of course, there's a courtroom, but we are dealing with a lot of other moving parts outside of that, right? We're up until 2 and 3 every morning, and then right back up, at 6:30 to get back to get up, eat breakfast, and get back to the courthouse. Because every day you have to prep again, right? And retool and shift and change the strategy based on what happened during that day. So anyway, but what surprised me in that case, I would say, is the resilience of our client.
Mm.
So our client lost her husband on an Amtrak train. He was shot and killed by someone he did not know. While riding home, he was working out of state and was just riding home to his family, and had been on the phone with his wife and all that. And then he didn't show up. So some passenger who was sitting behind him, they never met the man in his life. There was no beef. There was no anything, right? This man later told the police that the people in his head, the voices, told him to shoot him. Okay. So somebody may say, well, who do you sue? I mean, and you sue the guy that shot him, got 158 million. No, we sued Amtrak.
Right.
So, Naru held a press conference and announced, we're going to file $100 million lawsuit. We did. And we got past it, right? Certainly did better than the 100 million, but the resilience of our client was surprising to me, because she was, at the time of trial, 27, 28.
Oh, wow.
So to be under 30, have suffered this incredible loss.
Yes.
This is the person that she's been with since she was a teenager. This is her high school sweetheart. They have 3 children. They're all minors. He was the breadwinner.
Right.
Her whole life revolved around this man. Yeah. And to have him taken so suddenly, right? She's anticipating his arrival, and then he just never shows up. And he was safe and on the train, and they felt like, it was a snowstorm, and that was a safer route. Even just all of that playing back is just so heartbreaking. But that she was willing to turn down, because they continued to offer money throughout the trial and at different points along the way. The mediation a couple weeks before the trial, and then during the trial, the morning even that the verdict was set to come in, there was an offer on the table. So that she said, no, I'm going to see it through to verdict. I'm going to let the jury decide, right, what was right and what was wrong, and whether or not to hold these people accountable and to what extent. When somebody's already offering you millions of dollars, and you've lost your major income source and the head of your household and all that stuff. I mean, she's struggling, to get by without him. This is a totally new structure for her that she has to navigate. So to look us in the face and have that conviction to say, no, they have to make this right. Ooh. Ooh. That surprised me. And I'm just, there are many things that surprised me throughout my career, but just certainly that, because it just takes a certain level of boldness, conviction, faith in God, all types of things, right? There's so many layers to that for her to stand there and do that, knowing that the jury could come back with a zero, that she turned down millions of dollars and they could come in with zero or less than the offer.
Right.
But she stood there and said, I'm doing this for her husband and I'm doing this for my kids. Yeah. And the jury returned $158 million.
Wow.
That's my.
Wow. That's amazing. Because I'm sure you have clients that are like, let's take this, right? Like, no.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oftentimes against our advice.
Yes.
We're saying, no, please stay in the case longer. Yeah. And they're like, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
We can't, our hands are tied. But in that situation, she empowered herself and she empowered us to see it through, and empowered the jury to give her, to award her what they felt was right.
Absolutely. Kudos to her. I know that took a lot of courage for her to do, right? But to be, she was standing her ground on that. And I love that she said she wants the jury to decide. So she trusted them for sure. So and that's hard to imagine, right? Imagining her situation and circumstance that has drastically changed. And you put anybody in those positions, and likely lots of people would fold, right? You got millions of dollars on the table. Lots of people are, that's more than what so I love that. All right. So Naru, this is your spin question. In your years of law, and it could be a trial or anything like that, tell me about your experience with clients after a trial, so after they've hired you and that sort of thing. Are you staying in touch? Is it a true relationship, or are we just like, all right, we're gonna win this trial? Like, tell me about that experience after they've hired you and cases are closed.
That's a good question. So when the case ends, for us, the relationship doesn't end. And I'll be honest, to some people, it may seem like the relationship, like we doing too much. Okay. Because I've actually got on a plane. I flew to Charlotte before. Okay. Different cities, and I'll actually go house shopping, with people. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like what we do is, it's like a calling, it's like a ministry, right? And so here's the thing, if somebody loses a loved one, they're already in trauma, and so when you place on top of that millions of dollars into somebody's bank account, they not thinking straight. They could be a target, yeah. And so. I've got on planes and I'm like, look, ma'am, I need you to buy this house because they gonna try to point you in the direction of this $1 million house. You don't need all that space. And a lot of people will look at us and say, y'all, that's too much. But no, when you spend 2 years of your life with a person, from the time they hire you up until the time you go to trial, you do develop a relationship with them. You talk to them sometime on the weekend, what's going on with the kids. They struggle. It's the same. It's like, you know, my kids acting up. I've had people get on the phone with my son. Man, what you doing? Why are you acting up? You know, I have the same conversations with my children. So we do become close, and we do talk. Hell, there's a brother who hired me when I was a baby lawyer first starting out. We still talk to this day.
Wow.
You
Oh,
know,
wow.
we still talk to this day.
I like that. So a lot of kids out there calling you Uncle Naru. Uncle Naru
Uh,
calling.
OG, I don't like
Yeah.
when they call me OG though. Don't call me OG now.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Kay, I want to bounce it back to you. I am very familiar with this story, but I'm gonna assume that this one's a memorable one for you. But if you could share your story from your case with it's Amari, right?
Harley, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. So another example of a client that, you know, I'm in touch with, that I speak to on a regular basis and follow the kids and, you know, all that, right? Just life occurrences. So Amari Harley was a 3-year-old little boy in Jacksonville, Florida, and he was playing in a park with his whole family present, his mom, his grandparents, and cousins and brothers, all this. And there was a charity softball game going on, and also not related to them, but a birthday party in the park. It's just a weekend, right? So the park is busy. It's a public park, and it started to rain, and y'all know Black folks scatter when the
Yeah.
rain starts. Okay,
And get my hair wet.
hey, the sugar melts, you know.
Yeah.
So we have to run. So, but anyway, so everybody dispersed as the rain in Florida. If y'all know anything about Florida, it'll rain. I mean, you know, it's bright and sunny, and then it's pouring raining. So anyway, the rain just came out of nowhere. Everybody scattered under the 2 pavilions. And in that commotion, the family was separated. And in the commotion of all of that, Amari fell in a hole in the ground. It was a septic tank in the middle of the park. It wasn't off on the outskirts. It was right there in the middle of the park. And the lid for it was not attached. So they just had this high density plastic lid resting on the top of it. It looked like something you're supposed to jump on in a park because it was green and plastic.
Yep.
So he likely, while there was no footage and nobody saw it happen, he likely was running like everybody else, saw that, just like my little kid would do, my little boy would jump on it like, oh, let me jump on this as I'm running. Jumped on it, and that thing flipped and he fell right into that hole. But all the commotion, you know, the sound of the rain, everybody running, nobody heard anything. So Amari drowned right there at their feet in broad daylight in the park. Once the rain stopped, minutes later, it wasn't even like it rained for a long period of time. Right. It rained for a few minutes. They get back together and realize he's missing. They think he has walked away from the park. Somebody took him from the park. They fan out and start to search for him, only for the police to find him floating in that septic tank. There was no foul play. You know, that's just what happened. So that case was tough for me. All the kid cases are tough for me.
Yeah.
I end up with quite a few drowning cases, unfortunately. Maybe it's just because I'm in Florida, but whether it's septic tank or a retention pond or a swimming pool, you know, unfortunately, there are so many child drownings, and we just have to be mindful of that. Here's a stat that most people don't know. Most child drownings happen with kids who we believe can swim. It's because all the adults around relax, right? No, it's okay. He can swim. Yeah. Right. So then if you know that a child can't swim, you are on high alert.
Yes.
And you probably have a life jacket on them and the floaties, all the things, right?
All the things.
But he can't swim.
Get away from the edge of that. Get away from that. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But the moment you think someone thinks he can swim, she can swim, everybody relaxes. Oh, it's okay. She can swim.
Yeah.
And those kids often drown.
Yeah.
So it's just the child drownings stick with me. They are so tragic. Oftentimes it just takes a moment, and it's, oh, well, so-and-so is supposed to be watching them, right? Or is that, that they go out the sliding glass door, nobody heard it, or so it's just so important to have an alarm in your swimming pool, that triggers when something 10 pounds or more hits the water. There to have the gate around your pool. There's so many safety mechanisms that we have to utilize. But in this Amari Harley case, the city of Jacksonville just didn't do its job. They were aware that the tank had a lid issue. It was well documented. They just continued to push that aside. And I had said, back then in the media, that it was a socioeconomic issue. This is not an affluent area. It's not an affluent park. And if a septic tank lid was off in an affluent park, you can best believe it would have been fixed.
Yeah.
Because it's in the hood. Yeah, we'll get around to it maybe, but it had been off 18 months before was the first indication that they had. So this was a long time in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I remember that story, and I think that trial went on for a while, right?
It did, and we ultimately settled with the septic tank company and the city and resolved that case, and also made some substantive changes that I think are more impactful, because there is a community a task force, so to speak, that meets now to review safety in the city parks, and that did not exist. And on the top of their documents for that task force, it says, "Be ever vigilant," and in memory of Amari Harley. The playground has been dedicated to Amari. There's a big plaque of his face in the park. They've remodeled the park. I mean, it's a place where now his siblings can go and, kind of feel their brother's presence in a way, and their mom and all that. So anyway, but that they trusted me, that, they came to me inside of my office, and what his mother said that always stuck with me was, "Don't let my baby have died in vain." And I just never forgot that, and I never will. And he didn't.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I remember that, and I'm sure, when you're meeting with families and they dealt with this, tragedy, a lot of them feel that way, right? Like, can we make sure that they're remembered, and that, in this case, no one else will have to, lose a child to that septic tank now, right? Because they've made some changes, they have a task force and that sort of thing. So it just really is a testament to the work that you're doing. Yes, you're representing these clients and that sort of thing, but I'd love to see that it goes beyond that, right? You've actually done some things that's going to impact the community, and hopefully not have those things happen again. So, all right. So before we wrap this thing up, so Naru, tell me any advice you have for personal injury lawyers that are out there, any advice you may have for them dealing with the legal challenges or anything like that. Anything you want to leave with my listeners that maybe they're in law school, maybe they're fresh, out of law school.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's a great question. I think for anybody that wants to go into, really any field for that matter, I would encourage you to just kind of go for it, not delay. Life is short, right? We work in an industry where people will leave their house in the morning and then they don't make it back by dinner time. And so, because life is so fragile, I want to encourage everybody, like, don't delay, do it. I think when you do it, you got to do it without an ego. We talked about to partner or not to partner. The biggest thing about any partnership, no egos. So go do it. Don't have an ego. And, just praise each other. Look, I get to work with the real life Olivia Pope.
Yeah. Okay.
You hear me? Real life Olivia Pope. Right. And so I can say from my experience, she makes me better. It's important to have somebody to tell you when you're doing wrong. The argument sucks. The argument needs some improvement. Do that again.
Yeah.
Your grammar ain't right. You sounded too country. That ain't a word. That ain't a word, but I think when you contemplate and doing something, going back to school, second careers, starting, just do it. And then when you partner, just set your ego aside. Uh, and God's gonna bless you. It's gonna happen. It's all ordained.
Oh, amen, amen. All right, Kay, anything you want to add to that?
I would just add that, always put yourself, I think that as lawyers, we can become very jaded. And we just have seen a lot. We become desensitized to a lot of things because we just see so much tragedy. So I would remind people in this industry, going into this industry, to what regardless of your practice area, right? Whether you're doing criminal defense, or you're going to be a prosecutor, or you do what we do, family law, it doesn't matter what type of law it is, put yourself in your client's shoes. I've seen so many lawyers talk down to people, dismiss what it is that they're saying. And it's just so important to keep yourself grounded and remember what the old folks said, right? But for the grace of God, go I, right? So, and that could be a criminal case, right? Just one wrong decision.
Yeah.
And you or somebody close to you is sitting on the other side of that table, right? Or, if you had left work 5 minutes earlier, maybe that's you in that accident. Yeah. So really it's just about, what if this was me? What if I had lost my husband on the train that day? Yeah. So you have to remain empathetic in this career and not become so hardened by all the tragedy and the bad things you've seen along the way. Just keep your heart in it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I know I got some listeners out there that just want your opinion. I know y'all been keeping up with what's his name, Lil Woody, Elias, this trial. Come on, give me some opinions. I'm sure y'all are running to some, witnesses like this. So, Naru, tell me your take on Lil Woody.
So look, I don't know if this is the popular opinion, but look, I'm free YSL, young thugger. Look, I feel like, to be honest with you, there's gonna be a mistrial. I think that there's so many things that we're watching on TV that from what the state is doing, the lack of evidence that they have, and all the hearsay that's coming in, and YSL Woody is really bad for their case. I mean, he's entertaining to watch. I love YSL Woody, but he's bad for their case because he keeps telling them, I said this because y'all made me say it. So I don't even know why I'm even here. So I'm like, ugh, like that's not how you want your witnesses to testify for you. Yeah. And look, but I just think that it was a case that never should have been brought, because it felt like in the beginning they was putting Young Thug on trial for his music.
Yeah.
And so
then it changed, right?
Now it changed. Yeah.
All right, Kay, what you think? You a little Woody fan or what? Like,
Woody is certainly entertaining, and we certainly pass around the reels, or the clips of his testimony on a weekly basis. But it's important to also understand, though, that I think that part of what this testimony is pointing out to the world is that a lot of people get in this situation, right? And, maybe, I don't know what is true and what is false in all of this. That's why I think, obviously, right, Thug is walking. But there's certainly reasonable doubt here. Certainly. But, and that's the state's burden, right? Beyond a reasonable doubt. And I just don't think that the DA has done that or will do that. But people get in this situation and they feel very pressured by law enforcement, by attorneys to do things and say things. And that's not what the law is, right? So we have to remember that we have rights He certainly negotiated immunity and he understands exactly what that means.
Yes.
He understood his rights.
Yeah.
So he may sound however people believe that he sounds.
Yeah.
But I think that he fully understood what the law was affording him and what his testimony meant both to him and to Thug.
Yeah.
So, I mean, since he said, well, since they can't do nothing to me, right? Okay, well, we shot up some, what such and such daddy barbershop too. Like, I mean, what? This is crazy. So, it's just important though. We're making light of it, but we have rights in this country. And that brings me to, I changed my shirt. I had on a Kamala shirt earlier, but that brings me to another point. We have to go vote so that we can maintain those rights because people have fought, bled, died, been beaten, hosed, hung for our rights.
Yeah.
And that can't be lost on us. And all this stuff about whatever, y'all, hey, stop listening to social media and what this rapper said or that. Y'all don't have the money they have. They have other interests that they're trying to protect. Yeah. They might be in the 1%. You are not. And you need to vote in your interest, not a rapper's interest, right? So be mindful of that. Read, understand, right? Even DL Hughley apologized on the DNC stage for spewing incorrect information. So we have to stop digesting what people are out here saying on social media and do our own research and remember that we have eyes and a brain. Absolutely. And we need to read and understand, and we definitely need to be at the polls in November and putting the first Black woman in office.
In office. I know that's right. So, Naru, one last thing. So having Kay as a friend, she's always like, when I tell people I'm getting into this, I'm like, hold on, I need to call my attorney real quick and get some advice. But in all seriousness, the one thing that she always shares with us is that if anything ever happens, right? If you find yourself in any type of situation where you're dealing with the police, they have you at the station, whatever, she's always like, even if you feel like you're innocent, even if you done nothing, don't talk. All right. Don't tell them anything. How do you feel about that? Because I'm always like, if I'm innocent, I'm just gonna tell them everything, right? And she's like, no, you're gonna call me and you're not going to tell them anything. How do you feel about that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, look, I can't go against Kay. They said what she said. She stand on business. But to her point, I mean, we do have rights, and one of those rights that we have is to remain silent. Mm-hmm. And I think it's always in our best interest to remain silent and then, call the best lawyers in the country when you need some help, because we got you.
I know that's right. Okay. So thank both of you for being on the show today. The Witherspoon Law Group, please go find them. I also, I need some more shirts because my those are the most comfortable shirts that I have. I need y'all to send me some more shirts and stuff so I can represent. But thank y'all so much. Definitely appreciate it. You can reach them at, give them the witherspoonlawgroup.com. Is that where that?
Sure. It's witherspoonlawgroup.com, witherspoonwewin.com. Our social media is at witherspoonwewin. 844-WE-WIN-44 is the phone number. So you can reach us. Oh yeah, here we go. It's behind us, right?
There you go.
But no, please reach out, stay in touch, follow the firm and the activities, our community outreach. We have a community center. We really are who we say we are. So, if there's ever anything we could do to help somebody, we certainly will.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for being on the show today. This is Life Transitions Radio Talk Show with yours truly, Coach Latoya, here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll see y'all next week.